Ready. We are ready right now for match number 2. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop right into this draft and get this show underway. Hammer's Kinetic going to be first ban here. Nemesis Hydra did have the first ban in game number 1 here. Do you think either of these teams really prefer their positioning when it comes to picking?
Well, it comes down to how they strategize their drafting phase. Of course, they plan something for both sides, just to be able to ban something out first, lock something out first, or counter pick when they're going second.
Okay, well, the cruel ban out here for Kinetic. Nemesis Hydra answer with the Scarf ban. Pretty safe to say, you take that Scarf out, and that's going to be Fortress as the first pickup here.
Yeah, no, just quickly looking at that Scarf ban, if I were to judge T-Tigers based on all the lane carries he can play, Scarf would be his weakest hero. And banning that out doesn't make too much of a difference. You throw this guy on a Ringo or a Vox, and he'll just blow stuff all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking. The same thing. Like, obviously, he can do a lot of work on this hero. But when I think T-Tigers, I'm thinking stutter stepping, big damage coming out. You know, those kind of little mini plays. But we won't be dealing with the Scarf. We'll see if he gets one of these, the Vox or Ringo. Can do a lot of damage. It's going to be Finn as the first pickup, coupled up with Adagio. So Nemesis, they're going to be having some fun here.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be building a buff composition on their end, and they can actually execute it out very well. I feel like with this composition, though, you don't really utilize what Von C is capable of.
And in that sense, do you say just because he's typically that tanky kind of frontliner hero, and do you think that he'll be forced into the Adagio role here?
There's actually a chance that Hardek will be laning at the Adagio and throwing Von C on somebody like Black Feather, like we mentioned last game, and it would work out for them really well here. As long as they're able to get to that back line, get onto T-Tigers on this Vox, life should be very easy on them, but you can't count out Kinetic. I feel like Gabe Bizzle is going to lock up that glaive right now, and it's going to be the perfect peel for any buff composition coming out of Hydra.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Hammer's Kinetic now have the ability to be able to peel someone off, like you said, but this is a lineup that's going to excel when they're running at you.
Yeah, and this is something that we're really going to have to watch. Like, pay attention to Lost Boy Top on this Finn. He knows Finn left, right, and center, like in terms of just syncing up his equivalent with that polite company and calling out the Force Accords whenever the team needs it.
My goodness, we have a Sky coming out here as the last pick, and my question to you is this a weapon Sky, and is this we're going to see the buff comp built around?
I believe that it's going to be a weapon Sky. It works very well considering that most likely Adagio would be going for a buff, and then if Sky goes weapon, she's able to manipulate and get as much out of her auto attacks as possible, just maneuvering herself around, using Series Strike, and then forward barrage just to finish somebody off.
Yeah, it's massive damage output potential, crystal or weapon. Either way they go, only time will tell, guys. We've loaded into the Halcyon Fold, so let's go ahead and jump right in here and toss it over to our casters, Shinyi and Four-Court Jester. Take it away.
Well, weapon Sky. We'll have to see if hashtag Rome is right, because Von C has already started off with that crystal, so it's not good, Shinji. It's not good.
Well, if we think back to the last game with Kinetic, they had the Scarf and the Adagio as well, so that was double crystal too, and it didn't end too badly for them though, did it?
Well, I mean, if you consider a 1-0 at the 14:44 mark, yes, no, that's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah, so hopefully, we're going to be seeing a stronger performance coming out from Nemesis Hydra. I think we're all a little bit disappointed by that there. Such a fast game, and it looks like we're going to keep Hardek in the roster. The starts in the lineup for this game, we're kind of dubious as to whether or not he'll be subbed out.
Well,
after that.
If they have confidence in him, then they have confidence in him. Perhaps they were just shaken up. Perhaps it's, the first game of the night. Von C on Sky. I've seen him actually wrecking face in some ranked streams as of late with that Sky. I've actually seen Sky invade and to do 3v1s while getting all the jungle and still not really taking damage. Like, Von C is just a talented player. I'm very curious to see where the Sky will go.
And we'll remember him from his days on Von Menace. He was the star player on their lineup. Just absolutely strong performance. But then again, you've got T-Tigers from Liberation X coming down to join Kinetic and Gabe Bizzle as well. Both of these teams have such strong starting lineups. And this, these matches should be really, really close.
Well, we can hope that game number 2 will definitely be a little bit more of a fight. So far right now, in our laning situation, both of our supports going back and forth. Lost Boy Toth, although on that Finn, I don't think it worked out very well for him in the last round. We'll have to see if it will work out this time. But still, our roams are preferring to babysit our lanes at this point.
And Von C is heading up right now. So, we said before, Von C is so strong on that Sky. He's just so good at these skill shots. We saw him landing a decent bit of damage there onto Gabe Bizzle.
Yeah, but Suri strike over, and Sweet Generous just has nowhere to go after that sandwich. Now T-Tigers with that forward barrage. Von C is going to live with the skin of his teeth after taking a tower shot for his trouble.
Yeah, very, 2 for 0 trade. Things are looking up for Nemesis Hydra already. And this is hard egg on Adagio. Adagio has a very strong early game. So they're kind of opting for the early game advantage this time. Although Gabe Vizzo on that glaive, he has the power to reposition. We've not been seeing too much of this. We've seen Gabe Vizzo playing a few roam glaives in his time. And it's going to be exciting to see how this is going to work. Because we've not seen very many successful glaives against Adagio so far. Like,
It's been very hit or miss for sure. Like, we don't really have a concrete statistic to say that this is definitely the way to do, A, B, or C. Something to note though is Gabe Vizzo and Sweet Generous both already have some shield built up.
and that is what I like to see. Sometimes when a lot of the time actually, when we see a lot of double crystal being played, there's not that much defense being built. And by opting for the early defense, it gives them that extra chance to stay alive for a little bit longer. And this is what they need. They don't really have the early game advantage right now against Adagio or even Sky. So this is what they need to stay alive for a little bit longer.
I was curious to see if Von C was going to kind of be left to his own devices and get caught, but he is being somewhat aggressive here. Of course, we know it's going to be a 3v2, and while Gabe Vizzo, I don't actually think he got the stun that he was looking for there, and 1 and 2, they just absolutely melt from that one, and Kinetic is just going to give up this early ace, and Nemesis Hydra got to be very happy with a 5-0 so far.
Yeah, the afterburn coming out from Gabe Vizzo was so promising on the glaive. I think that the Polite Company from Lost Boy Top was the one that just kept him alive for that just long enough for Von C just to reposition and pick up the kills there. That is what they needed. We saw the buff onto Hardegg just dealing a lot of damage in that team fight there, helping them get that ace. And the very early turret. The tables have turned if you compare this to the last game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 5-0 and a turret at the 4-minute mark. If you thought the last game was really high action off the bat, we already have almost 2,000 gold lead between these teams in 4 minutes.
And a turret as well. So this is what we saw last game, where we saw Kinetic take the really, really early advantage with the turret and the kills. We saw Von C being a little bit over aggressive on that very weak alpha early on, but this time he's on Sky and is so comfortable on him.
Yeah, the comfort level is really going to be there for Sky. As I said, I've been watching a lot of streaming lately, and just the amount of Sky, the amount of glaives these days, fortresses, and Von C can really do work. Such a mechanically gifted player when it comes down to it. And level 6 for that Sky, we got level 4 there on Lost Boy. We don't really have those comparative levels so far. Gabe Vizzo is, 5.5, a little bit under, as we already do have that Death from Above here from Von C.
Yeah, we're going to get that double stun coming out very soon once Hardegg reaches that level 6 and gets the Versal Judgment. So Von C has his Death from Above available to him. And if we look over at the Kinetic's itemization, there is actually no reflex block. So we kind of ragged on about this before for a lot of teams so far. And it looks like we're going to be doing the same again for this team.
All right, Minion Mines going, I believe, both ways. Yep, on both sides. And Lost Boy Top looking for that level 6. Once we do get that Forced Accord, Forced Accord into a Death from Above, that is a pretty nasty situation.
Yeah, and if you can even change that into the Versal Judgment, that is a very lethal combination. I would love to see a Versal Judgment and Death from Above together. And there we go, Sweet Generous being stunned there.
And yeah, going to be just dropped instantly. Von C does have that Frostburn ready to go, so it's going to be very hard to kind of get away from these guys right now. So T-Tigers and crew, if they're going to be looking for this defense, they got to hold it here. Otherwise, they're going to be suffering quite a bit of damage there on top of that turret. And as you can already see, Von C, he's very interested in really chunking it down. It will survive just over half, but the pressure must be astounding on top of Kinetic right now.
Von C being a little bit cocky using his skills, and I think I saw him starting to teleport there at one point. But he's definitely feeling a lot more confident on the Sky compared to the Alpha. We just saw, he's doing a fantastic job with the forward barrage, hitting Sweet Generous there, taking him down very early, forcing Kinetic to back away at that point.
38 to the 28 last hits if you look at Sky versus Glaive. And Von C, I mean, he's been able to invade. He's gotten a few kills. 3-0 and 3 has been part of everything. In fact, everybody except Toff slacking a bit. He's at 5 out of 6. Everybody else 6 out of 6. And now perhaps even a 7th as we do got that anchor. T-Tigers is going to be nowhere where he wants to be. And, well, he's going to get some damage on top of Hardegg, but just not near enough. And look at Sky, just keeping the rest of the team at bay. That is now a 7-0, and perhaps again even more pressure on top of this turret. Yeah,
we saw the Lost Boy Top landing a really nice quibble there onto T-Tigers. He tried to dodge that using his Sonic Zoom, but I think that was a Sonic Zoom into the wrong way. It was very easy for Lost Boy Top and then Hardegg just to focus on him. And then I think it was just a split just a bad decision making on his part. If he just kind of went back into the direction of Sweet Generous or even Gabe Vizzle, you know, we could have seen Gabe Vizzle even peel for them, keep them off T-Tigers, but we just saw a bit of a mistake there coming out from Kinetic.
Well, 7-0, another immense gold payout, and almost 3,000 gold between the teams. Nemesis Hydra is still just incrementing their lead little bit by little bit. 7 minutes, they were 2k at the 4 minutes, now they're 3k here at the 7, and they continually just try to make sure that Kinetic can't even go into their own jungle safely, it seems. Like, Gabe Vizzle is getting some farm, T-Tiger is getting some farm, but it just does not compare.
Vonsi is being a bit of a nightmare for them, and he is just so confident. I've said this a few times already, but we can really see the difference in playstyle this time. I think this just suits his playstyle much better. When he was on Von Menace before, he was very aggressive. He's very good at those skill shots as well, and these are absolutely imperative in this game, is to land those skill shots.
All right, do we have that Forcer Chord? Yeah, we do. We also have that Death from Above ready to go, and the verse in this tower is just going down and down and down. The Death from Above will come out. Here's that verse, and Hardek will get the verse off just before he drops. Gabe Vizzle is not going to drop, though. We did have that fountain, and this now puts us a little bit more on the defensive here for Nemesis Hydra. Sweet Generous there into the front. He's trying to jump on top of Von C. Lost Boy Top is just trying to keep him at bay. Von C didn't die. Gabe Vizzle actually could be in some trouble as Lost Boy Top can't extend his arm far enough for a kill, but he did actually take home the fortress, and the teams will bounce 2 for 1 in favor of Kinetic.
Yeah, and I feel like Nemesis are really focusing on taking Sweet Generous down. The Fountain absolutely saved their lives there, and Lost Boy Top did Fountain, and just I think it was just a little bit too early for it to be honest. And I feel like T-Tigers is gonna be a bit to be caught out there by Hardek.
Yeah, but they're not going to get the glaive. The glaive actually just smartly went into the bush. He's not going to be part of this. It's only going to be a 1-kill turnaround, and well, 1 kill for a little bit of a steal. It's definitely not at this point. Von C just going to counter steal, so it's really not worth at this point. But still, 9-2. Kinetic did show some signs of life because they were able to take the fight, but by the end of it, it's not really going to amount to much in terms of that deficit.
Yeah, well, Sweet Generous building that Crucible, that in the last fight they had against, we saw Hardek managing to land his Verse of Judgment on all 3 of them, leaving Gabe Vizzle and Sweet Generous very low in health. By being able to block the Verse of Judgment, which is probably one of the skills that has the longest channeling time and easiest to block, they need this. We've said before, there's 3 potential stuns on this team. This is such a dangerous composition that they've got here. You know, if Lost Boy Top can land his Force Accord onto all 3 members and pull them into a Verse of Judgment or even a Death from Above, you know, they can absolutely annihilate Kinetic here.
Big thing is, will that combo come to pass? Because so far, I mean, the combos have been doing very well. That turret, okay, Vaughn, are you actually going home? No. Yes? No. Okay, he's just going to stick around and be a guy that does that kind of stuff. Still, this turret is not really going to be lasting too much longer. As you can see, it is on its last legs. Lost Boy Top will get the kill. Death from Above there to just keep them at bay. Kinetic cannot really go through that one. Von C is still trying to do his best in terms of kiting, but here comes that first as well. Lost Boy Top in the thick of things, but that's a 1 for 1 as Von C will pick up 1 kill. Lost Boy Top will actually live through it. Sweet Generous can't get the kill, and now Von C is looking for that Gabe Vizzle blood, and wow. That Suri strike answered by the afterburn. Gabe is actually going to live through it.
Yeah, so with this time we saw Sweet Generous blocking the Verse of Judgment for Hardek. So he went down very fast from that, but Von C and Lost Boy Top were the ones that do an insane amount of work behind the scenes. Von C just being an incredible harass, being able to dance around the skills that they're using, dodging the afterburns, dodging the sonic zooms there, and just managed to stay alive there. Just letting Gabe Vizzle getting away at the end there with very little health.
Big key thing is that he did get away. There was no ace. They might not have won the fight, but the war is still going on. 11-3 for the kills, though. Nemesis Hydra is putting forward a really good foot for a game number 3, which would make all 4 game series here in the quarterfinals go all the way to the blind pick.
That would be very exciting indeed. Could we believe the number of blind picks if this did go to a 3rd game? I was just going to say, we were saying before, they're starting off with a lot. They prioritized shield very early for Kinetic, but this time they just seem to have stopped. They've gone for the reflex block, which I do like, but they are being shut down very easily by Von C and Hardek, because they're building quite a lot of heavy crystal damage at this point, and they're just not being able to stay alive in the fights long enough because of the amount of crystal damage. If we see them, we should be expecting Aegis to be coming out from them very soon, and if they do, they'll be able to stay alive a lot longer in the team fights.
Now, we do got a Crucible there from Sweet Generous, so that will go a little bit in terms of buffering. not only from a stun, but perhaps a little bit of that crystal. And we do have that Kinetic there on top of T-Tiger. So you're right, Aegis is probably not too far off from either Tigers or Gabe Bizzle. That's a death from above. It's not really going to hit its mark, but it only has a 12-second cooldown, so it's not the end of the world if Von C just backs up a little bit and they reposition, look for a better angle. He is going to farm during all this as well, but at the same time, Lost Boy, I mean, are they actually caught here? Who's actually catching who? They are making sure that there's no gold mine going on, just by keeping Kinetic busy.
I think this is very risky for them going for that gold mine without the advantage there. And Hydra are recognizing this and they're going in.
Yeah, but there's not going to be a steal. 300 gold into the Kinetic coffers, and now Sweet Generous, he's going to go, and man, they just eliminate Hardek. They're not even going to give him a chance to do anything in this fight. Von C needs to get that kill on top of Sweet Generous, is not going to have enough in the bank to do it, and Lost Boy Toph, he's just going to have to just disengage. He's going to bring them under turret. We do get one kill. Von C picks up one, gets the second, and just like that, you cannot chase these guys under a turret whatsoever. Von C and Lost Boy, we now throwing out the fountain so that they can get this push going. They're actually able to bring themselves into a pretty good spot.
Hardek got shot down so easily that time. We saw the afterburn coming up from Gabe Bizzle, just knocking him to the wall. He couldn't do much to defend against this. And I think this is what they need to do more in the team fights, is just take Hardek down first. But I think Von C is also a massive problem here. We're seeing how much he is doing. He has got a score of 7-0 and 5 right now. That is absolutely insane at this time.
That's pretty big bounty gold, at least my eyes. 7-0-5. Yeah, Von C is definitely kind of the breadwinner when it comes to that. Probably, based upon 83 creeps and 7 kills, he's probably on par with gold here for Hardek as well.
Yeah, Hardek, so he got a creep score of 108, and T-Tigers is doing a lot better against that, but if we take a look at Gabe Bizzle and Von C is the one that's really in the lead here, and this is not a good team fight.
Yeah, Sweet Generous kind of going in with almost no health, it seems, and just getting chunked down to that death mark. Now, Gabe Bizzle, he's going to be there as well. We did have that fountain go off. Hardek actually again gets blown up. No burst whatsoever, and Lost Boy Toph just has to disengage once more, but I do not think they're going to be chasing him, because if they get under that turret again, Lost Boy could just hook him right in and put that 2 kills again to the test. But still, Kinetic is really not that far behind if you take a moment and look at everything. It's 5 kills, 13, and yeah, they're down those turrets, but because they're already down the turrets, like, that's not really going to be something that Nemesis Hydra can push in the future. So despite all that, they're still only down 2,000 gold.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing here is that Kinetic are beginning to recognize the weakness in Hydra's composition. They're focusing on Hardek very, very early on, but their biggest problem right now is Von C. They can't pin him down. Gabe Bizzle's used his afterburn already on Hardek, but it's not, the cooldowns are not ready for him to use on Von C. Von C is able to get away every single time, and they need to finish Von C down as well. So it's going to be a very tough call for them decision making the future team fights, to be honest.
You can see Von C and Hardek have both picked up armors. We got an Atlas Pauldron there on Lost Boy Toph. I mean, Lost Boy, if he's not in the thick of things, then we're doing something wrong. So having that Atlas could definitely go a long way for keeping these carries alive. Still, they got to do something about Hardek. Those blocks are just not really being executed, and he is just getting straight up murdered in a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, well, he is also the easiest one to kill. You know, Hardek, Adagio's a very slow hero. He's got alternating current broken myth, but he's not going to be doing much in terms of damage, to be honest. So we're seeing Gabe Bizzle jumping straight in.
Yeah, he is, but he's losing a lot of his health for that trouble. Now the deaths from above and the burst are also going to go down, and Kinetic are just not looking so healthy anymore. That engage really did cost them. Now, it's not going to cost them a Kraken or anything, but, like, can Von C actually catch up? Can he pick up a kill? Sweet Generous is going to be dropping low. One more shot. Can we get anything? The death from above says that's going to be enough. The Vox has gone down here as well, and Gabe Bizzle's making a very hasty exit to make sure there's no ace. And Von C, yeah, I agree. He is kind of a big deal.
Just a bit of a big deal. He's 9-0-5 at this moment. We saw a kind of stupid move coming out from Sweet Generous at this point. He managed to get away with a very small amount of health. Death from above from Von C came out, and he actually walked onto it, and that was what killed him. We could have seen Gabe Bizzle and Sweet Generous getting away at this point potentially, but that didn't happen. There was a very nice trade there for Hydra. They got 2 kills out of that. You know, 15-5 right now at 16 minutes. They're on Helga. Helga is going to be taken without any contest from Gabe Bizzle, who's just getting away every single time.
This is looking like the longest game between these two today, but still, with only 3 turrets left, and Helga now coming down on top of Kinetic, It's do or die time. Like, Gabe Bizzle, if he had gotten hit by that hook from Lost Boy Toff, would have been a very different story. But, like, there's no way that they're going to backdoor this. They have to go for this fight. They have to find Hardek. They know, or at least they should know where he is by now. Here comes that Kraken. Guys, you got to do something sometime soon. No, they're just going to go straight on top of the Kraken. They're not looking for that fight. They're looking to burn it down. But Vonsi has something very different to say about that. The forward barrages, the Suri strikes, that Sweet Generous now down under half hit points. You got to get those puppies out while you can. Here comes the burst. That is it for Fortress. He did not even get those pups out, I don't think. And that is just going from bad to worse. Tigers is not even going to get a kill. A nightmare of a Von C is plaguing Kinetic. Another turret drops, and we got 20-second death timers across the board.
Yeah, Sweet Generous just cannot hold up against that forward barrage coming from Von C. He just is just taking out half of the damage by the time the forward barrage is done. And we saw him making a little bit of a mistake. They were trying to release the attack of the pack. And this just left Von C open just to use his death from above and take him down very fast. This is such an efficient game that we've seen coming out from Nemesis Hydra. Completely different performance from the last game.
And you know what this means, shouldn't you? Game number 3. 4 for 4. NA in the quarterfinals go all the way to these blind picks. Von C, not only that, 12-0-5. I think that's the best score we've had today.
Yeah, absolutely insane. You know, he didn't die once, and I'd really like to see him bring out this guy again for the blind pick. Clearly, here he's been comfortable and he's able to use his forward barrage to great effect, and that is such an important skill to be using. You know, he's poking away before the team fight even begins.
The pokes were absolutely unreal. And Nemesis Hydra, I mean, they found their groove. They take these guys to a game 3, a blind pick, 4 for 4. EU can eat their heart out at this point because NA is really stepping up in this patch. And you know what? I have no idea who's going to win this. So we're going to throw it one more time back to the desk. We're going to set up this blind. I really want to hear what Rome has to say about this because NA